An armed society is a polite society. Manners are good when one may have to back up his acts with his life. Robert A. Heinlein, 1942. Is taking away our constitutional rights what the American people really want? The government, especially Democrats, are trying to put a hold on or even completely ban the right to bear arms. There are countless amounts of people that support this banning of owning handguns, and I'm sure some of you are included. The reason this right was made was not to cause violence, but to stop violence. Should the debate for having this right even be a discussion in today's politics? What makes the government suddenly care about what is happening in our country? Our leaders seem to like to put our nose in other countries' business before dealing with our own problems. As Americans, we should defend our Constitution with our life, because without it, we wouldn't have the freedoms we have today. And now people want to change the rights for the better. How do they know what is for better or for worse? I will be trying to persuade you to use the right to bear arms because it is a right we have earned by being Americans. The National Rifle Association, or NRA, has been around for almost 150 years. They stand up for the right to not just own these guns, but to use them responsibly. Firearms are a part of our history and culture as Americans. Our nation was founded with weapons in our forefathers' hands, and the NRA doesn't forget that. Some of you might be saying, why does he keep mentioning America in our history? Well, many people have forgotten the importance and the basis on which this country was founded upon, and the blood, sweat, and tears our fellow Americans shed. Just remember one thing. Shooting is a favorite American pastime now, but 250 years ago, shooting was a way of life and surviving. Gun control hasn't worked in other countries, so why would it work in the U.S.? Let's start with Canada. According to John Lloyd Jr. and Eli Lederer in the American Daily, after the new gun registration program started in 1998, the gun registry surged beyond $1 billion, which is 500 times the original registries. Let's jump over to England. After handguns were banned in 1997, the crime rate rose 29% higher in 1997 to 2002 than in 1996 before the ban. Robbery jumped 24% higher and murders jumped 27% higher. Before the law, armed robberies had fallen 50% from 93 to 97. Last but not least, let's talk about Australia. Their 1996 gun control law banned almost all firearms. In 6 years after the law passed, they averaged 32% higher violent crime rates. Armed robbery increased a whopping 74% and aggravated assault by 32%. Australia's violent crime rate is now double America's. Another interesting fact is, the U.S. made it easier to carry guns, and now at least 37 of the 50 states have the right to carry laws after a background check. Each state has its own policy on issuing permits. As a matter of fact, the states with the fastest growth in gun ownership had the biggest drops in crime rates. Don't forget one thing. Guns don't kill people, people kill people. And in my opinion, that couldn't be more true. I'll even go a step further for anybody out there that is still finding a way not to agree with me. Let's say, for instance, you are disagreeing because you believe owning handguns are unsafe or immoral. If you don't like guns, then don't own them. Nobody is making anybody own a gun. But we should have and be able to keep the right to bear arms. It all depends on how someone was raised and the beliefs that they have. And I have given you the facts, and the decision is on you. If you are worried about the safety of yourself and your family, then educate yourself on firearms and the proper way to use, clean, and store them. Another good point I'd like to bring up is that if nobody could legally own guns, how could anybody hunt? And we all know that whether you dislike hunting, it is important to keep the population down. Take guns away, and every 10 meters you'll be hitting a deer on the road, which would probably cause injuries or even deaths. The point is to keep an open mind about this matter and consider owning a firearm to protect your property and, most importantly, your family. We need to preserve this right to bear arms, to keep the American tradition going, and not to forget our history as a country. Start off small, buy a small handgun, and learn with that. There are plenty of courses out there that teach about firearms and a safe way to use them. We also talked about the NRA and how they are keep traditions going today as they did in the past. We learned that by banning guns obviously does the opposite from what the government intended. As a part of human nature, rules will be broken. People will continue to do as they please, whether legal or not. Conservatives will be conservatives, and liberals will be liberals. And the day those two can agree on something will be the day our forefathers will look down and be able to smile instead of shaking their head in shame. Let's strive to keep this country tied to the roots our ancestors grew and not change the one document that defines our country. Let the Second Amendment live.